I know they're working overtime on this, but Kamala Harris is no moderate. The spin specialist in her campaign and in the media are working overtime to convince America that she's moderate. She's relatable to Americans just because she's just like you. But she is not. I'm going to make a bold statement here, but I believe it to be 100% true. She is America's Hugo Chavez. If you elect Kamala Harris, a socialist, you will find out what kind of politician she really is. She is Chavez, and we will end up like Venezuela. Now, you look at people, if you want to know who they are, you look at what they do, how they vote, the legislation they jumped on board with. We gave you some of that. But you find out what the real priorities are by who they spend time with and the places they visit. Show me your friends, and I'll show you your future. Harris's record could not be clearer. She has never labeled herself as a socialist that we can find, but her record screams socialist. This is who she is. She has been immersed in America's far-left subculture since birth, and it's an identity she fully embraces. Harris's late mother, Shamala, died in 2009. She was an immigrant from India. Harris's father, Donald, is an immigrant from Jamaica. In the early 1960s, Harris's parents were both graduate students at UC Berkeley. They first met at a meeting of a student group called the Afro-American Association, which would go on to create the Kwanzaa holiday and the Black Panther Party. Harris's parents bonded over their mutual passion for civil rights and the radical political activism on campus. Now, you might remember the tale that Kamala spun in the media when she ran for president the first time about her parents taking her to a civil rights protest in a stroller.
They're marching away and, shouting and all of that. And then I think it was my Uncle Freddie, looked down and looked in the stroller, which was empty, and said, "Where's Kamala?" And apparently they left me like a block behind. I'd fallen out the stroller. I'm fussing and fussing. It's much cuter when she would tell the story, but she'd say, so then she would look down at me and, "Kamala, what do you want? What do you want?" And I looked back up at her and I said, "Freedom."
It turned out that even Snopes, the amazing fact-checking site, had to admit that Kamala's story shared some similarities with a story that Martin Luther King Jr. told in a 1965 interview, but never mind that. The point is that from the stroller age, Harris was influenced by Berkeley political culture. She would continue to have that around her during her entire adolescence. Her father became a Marxist economics professor, which I don't know how you are an economist and a Marxist, but eventually he landed at Stanford, where he spent most of his career. In a 1972 essay, he promoted using aspects of the Soviet Union's first five-year plan as a model for designing economies. That was a disaster. He later would become an advisor to the Jamaican government on economic issues. When Kamala was 7 years old, her parents divorced. She has a younger sister, Maya, who lived with her mom and spent summers with their father. Her mother chose Kamala's name, which means lotus, which is also the name for a Hindu goddess. In 2004 interview, Kamala's mother said, quote, "A culture that worships goddesses produces strong women," end quote. Kamala spent her middle and high school years living in Montreal, Canada, where her mother was a cancer research professor at McGill University. She again was raised on college campuses in the Bay Area and in Montreal, surrounded by the radicalism of academia, the forces that now drive DEI, transitioning children, abortion, the whole subversive agenda of the left-wing fringe. She almost can't help her socialism. It's all she knows. Harris is close to her sister, Maya, who was a senior policy advisor for Hillary Clinton in 2016 and was the head of the Harris campaign for president in 2019. It didn't go well for Harris. According to a New York Times report after the Harris campaign imploded in 2019, they said, quote, Many of her advisors are now pointing a finger directly at Ms. Harris. In interviews, several of them criticized her for going on the offensive against rivals, only to retreat, and not firmly choosing a side in the party's ideological feud. She also created an organization with a campaign chairwoman, Maya Harris, who goes unchallenged in part because she's Ms. Harris's sister. One campaign strategist said it was impossible to tell if Maya Harris was speaking for herself as an advisor or as her sister's representative. Harris's state operations director in 2019 submitted a scathing resignation letter that said, quote, "This is my third presidential campaign, and I have never seen an organization treat its staff so poorly. Gil Duran, a former aide, said about Harris at the time, quote, "You can't run the country if you can't run your campaign." Well, the good news is she's not running her campaign, and she won't be running the country. According to a report from the government watchdog organization Open the Books, Harris's struggles with running a staff have continued as vice president. The report finds a 91.5% turnover rate on her staff, with only 4 people still on her office payroll out of the original 47 staffers who started when she became VP. 24 staffers have quit just in the last year. When Harris was Attorney General of California, the father of one of Harris's office interns wrote an op-ed saying, quote, "Harris vocally throws around F-bombs and other profanity constantly in her berating of staff and others. The staff is in complete fear of her. As Attorney General, Harris instructed her entire staff to stand every morning as she entered the office and say, 'Good morning, General.'" He wrote, "My son was also giving instructions to never address Harris nor look her in the eye, as that was a privilege only allowed senior staff members." In Kamala Harris's current campaign, her sister Maya has supposedly taken an advisor role rather than being in charge this time. But Maya's husband, Tony West, is now also a key campaign advisor. The New York Times described him as Harris's secret weapon and major force in her campaign. Tony West was the California campaign co-chair of Barack Obama's presidential campaign in 2008, helping raise over $65 million. In 2012, West was named acting associate attorney general in Obama's Department of Justice, which made him third in command. Then Attorney General Eric Holder originally brought West into the DOJ to work as one of the defense lawyers for the al-Qaeda prisoners at Guantanamo. Before that, Tony West had worked as the pro bono defense lawyer for John Walker Lynn, a.k.a. the American Taliban, and insisted throughout the process that Lynn was, quote, "not a terrorist," end quote. Tony West recently returned the favor and hired Eric Holder to be in charge of the vetting of VP candidates for Harris. Among Holder's top 3 picks was the socialist governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz.